Hey there, Cheesemeisters, and welcome back to the Peach Pod After Dark. I am Jeff. Tell them it's a think piece about a mid-level band struggling with their own limitations in the harsh face of stardom. He'll wet himself. And joining me on the other end of the internet, my cuz-host.
I'm Leslie, and I always tell the girls never take it seriously. You never take it seriously, you never get hurt. You never get hurt, you always have fun. And if you ever get lonely, just go to the record store and visit your friends.
Nice.
Now I can take off this hot-ass thing. Incidentally, this is what I wore when I sent in my audition for the Almost Famous musical. Like this whole thing. So,
Nice.
Obviously didn't get it.
That's okay. The musical, I don't think, got it either. I mean, from what I hear, it didn't quite last. So
No, but it's going to make a comeback because Cameron Crowe has that kind of money. So, second time's a charm.
Well, sometimes it takes. I mean, how long did it take? What the fuck was the thing with Harry Potter in it on Broadway just recently?
Oh, Merrily We Roll Along.
Merrily We Roll Along. Didn't it take like 40 years for anyone to make a decent version of that, like that worked?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and that like the previous version had Lin-Manuel Miranda in it, and I still think it didn't, like, it wasn't a hit, And
now Linklater's going to ruin it again.
I don't know about that. I think that's going to be good.
I heard some rumors of who's cast, so I'm less enthused, but that's not.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I like Linklater and think he does some interesting shit. So I think it'll be cool. Yeah, I think it'll be cool. Anywho, this week we are talking about Almost Famous, the 2000 Cameron Crowe coming of age rock and roll masterpiece, starring William Fugit, Kate Hudson, Billy Crudup, Jason Lee, Frances McDormand, pre-Elf Zooey Deschanel, Fairuza Balk, Sookie Stackhouse, Anna Paquin, and pre-Brandt, Philip Seymour Hoffman. Or maybe post-Brandt. This might be post-Brandt.
It's Patrick Fugit.
Oh, I wrote it. I wrote the name of his real character. His character and not the... Patrick Fugit. You're right. I do that sometimes. At least I didn't say that this was directed by, like, Cameron Diaz. I could have said Cameron
Diaz. God. Yeah.
Pro, because there was a Russell... I could fuck this up 7 different ways. So the fact that I only fucked up the one guy, thumbs up to me. So we are doing this in conjunction with Things to Do on a Rainy Day, Season 2, Episode 26. Obviously, because we wanted to talk about a band and their fans. And also because we tried to watch Spinal Tap and the internet conspired against us. But...
Sorry.
No, it's okay. I think this is... I almost think it's better to watch Spinal Tap after watching this. In some ways, if you've never seen Spinal Tap before... Which I know you watched like a little bit of it before the internet decided you weren't allowed to anymore. But our spelling connection, by the way, is Brian Vaughn, who is is like the real Topeka kid in this movie. When they're in Topeka and they go to his house, he might be the kid driving the truck. I'm not sure. He was in season 9 episode of 90210. So
can't wait to meet him.
I don't know that you're gonna know who he was. Like I feel like
wow.
Because he's just in one episode, like he's probably just somebody in a scene somewhere, or there's an episode in my head he could have been in, but who the hell knows? By season 9, God knows what's going on in this program. So
awesome!
All right, so again, we wanted to watch Spinal Tap to start to originally with this, and the reason I think it's better maybe to watch it after this is because it is, I mean, Spinal Tap was made like 20 years before this, not quite, but close. Yeah. But 10 years after the events of the movie, so whatever. But both of those movies are composite sketches of life in the music industry, like life with a touring band.
Yeah.
This is heartfelt and loving And Spinal Tap is making fun of all of it.
Yep.
But I think that watching this, and then if you watch Spinal Tap, you'll kind of see what they're making fun of. Like just the experience of living on the road and traveling city to city, and the groupie thing, and the, like the not knowing what city you're in, and like all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Probably, like if you don't have the experience of growing up with like classic rock bands as the soundtrack to your life, then having this as context for Spinal Tap is probably oddly helpful.
I mean, I definitely listened to the classic rock station on my drive into school once I could drive.
Uh-huh.
Like, because I think that was the kind of music me and my friends were listening to. We liked the older stuff. We were those nerds. And yeah, I don't know. I don't need to explain that.
No. Yeah. I think classic rock is, I don't know if it still is, but it was a phase everyone went through in high school.
That makes sense.
At least everyone being like the white kids I knew.
I was going to say.
Yeah. I mean,
we missed out on going through like hip hop nostalgia or, classic rap,
Oh, no, not me. I lived that shit. But like I was just thinking about there's a radio show in New York called Ebro in the Morning, and it's on Hot 97. It's on a hip hop station. And one of the guys on the show is Peter Rosenberg, who was I found him because he's a wrestling podcaster too, and he works for WWE and ESPN, and he's done all this stuff. But he's also this, I don't know, 45-year-old white Jewish guy who loves hip hop and grew up loving hip hop, and he's been on Hot 97 for, I don't know, 20 years, whatever it is. And that's how I found my way in, was through him. But at one point a few years ago, he was talking, I think, about Billy Joel and how much he grew up loving Billy Joel, even though he's like this, he also loves hip hop and all of these things. But he's in the studio with no other white people. And so the number of people in the studio who had no idea who he was talking about, like at all, like never heard of this dude. And he was like, how do you not know Billy Joel? And they're like, that wasn't on at the barbecue. Like it wasn't on in my house. I don't know. What I grew up with wasn't this. So he started doing this Whitish Wednesday thing, which was like, you don't know Whitish. And so he would play things that like every white person knows. And it was so funny to listen to everyone in the room have no idea, like have never heard this thing before. And it was fascinating to me, just the different worlds people grow up in, and you just think that everyone has your experience, but they clearly don't. So like the fact that I, when I saw this, was conversant in Elton John and Led Zeppelin and Peter Frampton and the Eagles, and like, that is not the universal experience that I think it is.
Yeah.
But it's universal enough for this movie to like strike a chord, but like everyone I know went through a classic rock phase in high school, and I fought it. Like I'm still not the hugest Zeppelin or Pink Floyd fan. Like it's fine.
Yeah.
But I like it. I like some of that music. And this movie is very much a love letter to that kind of music.
Oh, yeah. It's pure 70s nostalgia, laying the framework for the 90s nostalgia that we so love.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you get it, 20, 30 years after it happens. I mean, the 90s were full of 70s nostalgia. And yeah, it just, there was a lot of it. But this is your favorite movie.
This is my favorite movie.
So
one of them, yeah.
Tell me about this being and becoming your favorite movie.
So I was thinking about this a lot while watching it for the nth time.
Uh-huh.
I'm pretty sure I was first introduced to this movie in, like, one of my high school friends' basements. There wasn't a lot to do, shocker, in southern Indiana. especially when you live up in Floyd's Knobs. There's nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, there's more now, but there was nothing then.
Mm-hmm.
And so we, once I could drive, I would drive over to her house. A few of us would. We'd watch movies. A lot of times, this isn't older, and this definitely wasn't old for us then. It's probably considered old now. But yeah, this struck a chord with our friend group because we all listened. We're going through that classic rock phase. I've said on here, I'm a sucker for coming of age movies, and nostalgia is a hell of a drug. Even if I thought I had found a word, because you mentioned in another episode, like if there was a word
for false nostalgia.
Yeah. I feel that so much in this. I'm like, I have no connection to any of this. I see people that I know in various characters, and I'm also a struggling artist trying to make their way, and throughout the whole, unfortunately not in 2 hours, but in like the last 15-20 years, I've kind of experienced the charm of it wear off. Like you see William and Penny Lane kind of go through. You have this love for a thing, and you think it means go for this thing, and maybe it does, maybe it doesn't.
Right.
We kind of leave off on a hopeful note of like, we still love this thing. We don't know what we're going to do with it now, but we at least survived going after that thing. So I love that part of it, and the music's incredible. There are so many. There's a new person I find in it each time that I'm like, it's so and so.
Right. Yeah, like this.
You're bringing up Mark
Maron. Maron, yeah.
Maron.
Yeah.
Not the French Prime Minister, former French President.
No, Mark Maron. Yeah. Yeah, I'd forgotten he was in this, and I was telling you, like, he has a podcast, and it's a massive podcast. Like, it's huge. It's really, really successful. It's called WTF, which is short for what the fuck, obviously. I know. He welcomes people to the show by saying, hey there, what the fuckers, what the fuck buddies, what the fuckstronauts, like whatever. Yeah, he just riffs on it every time. But his the opening of the show is a needle drop of him going, lock the gates, and I didn't know what it was from, and then it's from this. So I was like, oh shit, that's where he got this from. That's I knew it was his voice, but
crazy.
Yeah. So like now that clip in my head is from WTF, but that's what this is. It's from here. So this is about a 15-year-old kid who loves music and wants to be a music critic, and ends up attaching himself to a fictional band named Stillwater, which is a composite of the Eagles and the Allman Brothers and Led Zeppelin, and bands that Cameron Crowe actually wrote profiles of. And I think the actual tour he went on was an Allman Brothers tour. I think so, but not sure. I was doing some Googling.
Okay.
Anyway, it's the story of him being on tour with this band for a whole year, or whole summer, I guess. And the growth of him as a person through that process. And when I first saw this movie, it was around when it came out. I don't think I saw it in theaters, but it was lauded. Like when I saw it, I was told, this movie's fucking great. You got to watch this movie. And I ended up, remember I told you about Columbia House and how you accidentally end up owning movies? This was one of the ones This was one of the ones I accidentally ended up owning. I didn't want to own it, but I did. This one in Gladiator I ended up with. That I'm like, why do I have these movies?
Well, this is way better, and I haven't even seen Gladiator, and I don't care.
This is better than Gladiator, but I'll say this. When it came out, I didn't love it. And I think that's on me. Like, I don't think the movie was worse. I think the movie was exactly what it is when I watched it last night. But I think I was much more cynical and jaded at 24 than I am at 48. Much more like, is this cool enough for me to like it? Or does liking this make me lame, Tabitha? Did I tell you about lame Tabitha? I don't remember if I told you about this or not.
I think, remind me.
Okay, I don't remember if I did or not. But Dave Pirner, who's the lead singer of Soul Asylum, was doing an interview at Poolside with Tabitha Soren on MTV in, like, I don't know, 1993 or something. And he was just being a total douche nozzle. And she asked him a question, and he's like, am I lame? Does that make me lame, Tabitha? And so now
right.
everything, is that lame? Am I lame, Tabitha? So I thought that this movie, like, I was like, is it cool to like this? Or is it lame, Tabitha? And I kind of felt like it was a little lame to like this movie, 24-year-old me, because it was such a classic rock dick sucking.
Yeah.
You know, like, I'm like, I'm beyond that. I'm too cool for going back and listening to Led Zeppelin. People did that in high school, and I was too cool for it then. I'm still too cool for it. And yeah, exactly. And that's stupid. You know what I mean?
Very
like it's. I mean, name of my time.
Like, oh, a 24-year-old not liking a movie that everyone else loves. I mean,
yes.
it's the same thing that the hipsters did.
Yeah, of course. And it's totally, like, it's fine. It's all fine.
Yeah.
But it's not. I'm so glad I watched it again, because this movie is great. Like, watching this yesterday, I was like, I got the feelings for this movie that you're supposed to get when you watch this movie, because this movie is without cynicism. You know what I mean? Like, Lester Bangs is cynical, but Lester Bangs in real life was super fucking cynical. Yeah. So, like, that rings true. And, like, you kind of need someone off to the side saying, don't get sucked in by the artifice. Don't get sucked in by the bullshit, because he is. Right. Because William Peter is getting sucked in. Was that his real name, Peter? I might have forgotten it already.
His real name is William. Or no, the actor's name is Patrick, and then the character's
Patrick.
name is William.
Can't even start with a P. Anyway, like, William is in this because he loves music. You know, because he was an outcast. He didn't feel connected to anybody. He had been skipped ahead any number of grades, which is still a bit of a mystery how many grades he was skipped ahead. I guess 3 if he was 15 and graduating from high school.
Yeah. And the fact that she was able to successfully, like, what do kids know before anything else? How many I know.
Right, exactly. Yeah. You can.
How do you change a kid's perception going, hey, no, you're still 5. Why?
Right.
Because you are. Why? Like, I don't know how she got away with it.
I think you just keep saying it and then they believe you.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Kinda. Yeah, kinda. There's this going places I didn't expect to go. In the book Helter Skelter.
Oh, yay.
Right, which is about the Manson murders. The way that it's written by Vincent Bugliosi, who's the attorney who convicted them. He got the convictions. And he's describing another attorney who's like one of the defense attorneys as being someone who is objects to everything in court. And at one point, an example he gives is this guy objected to someone saying their name because he said, their name is hearsay. The only way they know what it is because their mom told them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so I just thought about that when you're like, the only way they know how old they are is that their mom told them, so it's hearsay.
Yeah, I mean, Shirley
All the way
Temple
around.
also had her age lied about. So
Right. Yeah. So anyway, he his sister runs off to be a stewardess, as one does, and leaves him her record collection. And 3 years later, he's graduating high school, but he loves music because of the box of records.
Yeah.
And he just wants to write about it. He just wants to live it. There's no cynicism in him. It's just, I love this and I want to do this. And he meets Penny Lane, who also just loves this.
Yeah, they're there for the music.
Just wants to do this. And she is just she's a fan.
She wants to inspire the music.
Yeah, but also be a part of it, live this existence with the band, And I think she loves or convinces herself that she loves Russell. I don't know if she does. I think she just loves the music more than anything.
I think there is a desire for her to be a muse. I think a lot of, I don't know if it's an artist thing. I don't know if it's depending on the person, but in this particular case, I mean, I think she wants to be a muse.
Okay.
But you don't get muse without being used. And I just came up with that.
Boom. Nailed it. Can't spell muse without use.
Of course, like you said, it's not always the case, but I think more often than not, I mean, behind every successful male artist, there's a woman who helped him maybe or did a lot of the work. And I mean, not in this case necessarily, but again, that's where muse becomes complicated.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think we see her impacting the musicality of the group because that's not what we are shown of the group.
But she says he's her last project. She's like, he's already good, but he could be great.
Right. And he wants her around because I can't remember what the line is, but something about he's more his full self when she's there or something like that. Yeah, but maybe not. Here's the thing. I don't think he's cynical either. I think he means it.
I think he thinks he means it.
I don't know if there's a difference in this case.
Okay, that makes sense.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He could be, but watching this time and the way he interacts with William, it never strikes me as disingenuous.
I think where some of my cynicism is coming out about Russell is that, and I clocked it more this time, he says things that I think he's heard or he imagines big time musicians say.
Sure.
We don't play for the critics, we play for the fans.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that there's a certain amount of saying the things that you think rock stars are supposed to say. And and Jason Lee does that too. He, waxes poetic about whatever while he's the buzz. I'm talking about the buzz. That's what it is. And the chicks are great.
I get people off. Actually, that you can print. I'm going to be recreating the whole film for everyone.
That's okay. How many times did I quote Raising Arizona or Big Lebowski or Fletch or whatever? No, but I think he's saying the things that you're supposed to say to sound like a, whatever rock star. But I think he means them too. I think he believes that shit because by the end of the movie, and this is what I think I like about it, although I liked it a whole lot up until the middle, and the second half I don't like quite as much, but I don't think you're supposed to, because I didn't feel as good. Like, it's just there's just more tension, and it's a little bit more combative.
Well, everyone's ideals about this world is slowly getting broken away.
Uh-huh.
You know, the tour is I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
It's just, I noticed it so much more last night. Like, it feels like it starts, I'm sure it starts when Russell hurts his hand, because then you start to see the cracks more, you know, in the t-shirt thing. Like, we start to see the cracks more in the band. The band is tired.
Yeah.
And there's that beautiful moment where they all sing on the bus. Then William loses his virginity, and things aren't any better for him.
Right.
He's still treated like a child. He is still a kid. Like, not 5 minutes later, is crying outside of Russell's room because he can't get an interview. He's trying to do something, and he's already been chewed out. Like, it's that complicated feeling when you are, like, you want to be treated like an adult. And yet, when you get some of the adult shit, you realize, no, I want to be a kid again. This is terrible.
Right.
And luckily, he is still a kid. And I think Penny Lane has a similar thing where, like, she thinks she's there to treat him as a project. She thinks she has control. And then she starts to lose some of that because she's losing herself in Russell.
Right.
So, yeah, I think that is why the second half is the magic, the disillusionment is starting to fade.
Yeah, I think you meant the opposite of that, but that's, yeah.
The illusion?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I think, yeah, because, no, the disillusion sets in, and I think it's the standard arc of a Behind the Music, you know, like the band starts to get too big and tensions start to arise. You know, what starts it really is Jimmy Fallon. Like, when, I mean, and I don't mean like that the movie gets worse because of Jimmy Fallon, although Jimmy Fallon will probably agree that he's not a great actor. But
you know what? We still have hope for him.
I don't care. He doesn't need to be an actor. He's great at what he does. Like, you know,
Yeah.
Go play beer pong with celebrities on TV and have a great time. People really like that. It's fine. But no, I mean, the story of the band gets worse because their life gets easier. Like, the money comes in, and now they're on a plane instead of a shitty bus. And I don't know if you noticed, but the front of the bus at the beginning is the Almost Famous tour, and in the middle it becomes the Stillwater tour.
Oh, I missed that one.
Yeah, and then at the end it's the No More Planes bus, right?
I do. Yeah.
So, like, when they leave the bus is when things become less idealistic in the movie and less dreamlike, less aspirational. It becomes more workaday, and also like these are the trappings of your success.
Yeah.
But that shit doesn't break them, any of them.
No.
At the end of the movie, she's going to Morocco. Like she said she was going to at the beginning. Like, she finally does this thing. She doesn't love this stuff any less.
No.
But she needs to move on to the next part of her life, still loving this stuff. William goes home, actually home, at the end of the tour, and collapses on his bed, exhausted and broken down because of, not because of his experience, but because his experience was negated by the band. Because they said, no, that's bullshit. And Jan Wenner throws him out.
I never said that. Did I?
Right. But that's not fucking Russell. That's not really what he thinks. Like, he went along with that because Jeff Beebe was upset. And the band was like, they can't fucking whatever. But like, even though like he goes along with the denial, he never, like, he told him, write what you want.
Yeah.
You know? Like, write whatever you want about this, because we just survived this near death experience where all of us said all of our shit out loud.
Oh, it's so great.
Yeah, there's nothing
Gay.
right. Yeah, like I fucked your wife too. I mean later, but I did.
Yeah.
So like it's all out on the table now for him. Like all the stuff that he thought was maybe better if only like a few people know it versus everybody knowing it. He was totally fine with that. Write what you want. And then when the rest of the band sees it, that's when they get all worked up about it and they deny it. And then he gets sent home. But when Russell shows up, even though he's tricked into showing up, when he realizes where he is, he's like, yeah, yep, I gotta go own this shit. Like I fucked up. Like, and it's all in his face. Like it's a great scene where he just like, where it all lands on him. Oh, this is what I have to fix. I don't have to fix my relationship with Penny. That's not what matters. What matters is this. And when he goes in, William asks him the same question he's been trying to ask him all along, which is, what do you love about music? He never loses that question.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the answer is,
to begin with, everything.
He never loses his answer either. That's always his answer. And that's probably why I was like on this movie when I was a kid, 24, as opposed to now, because it is. They don't lose their cynicism they don't gain cynicism.
Yeah.
Throughout this experience, they still have love of the music.
Yeah.
And that's the heart of the movie. And that's why I think it works so well. That's why I watched it last night and was like, God, this is great.
So great.
And go ahead.
Russell and Jeff are still like chummy at the very end. And it's like, oh yeah, they didn't really have a fight that would make or break.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like dude friendships. Women friendships, maybe. I don't know. It doesn't have to be something that breaks up the band though. Like, yeah.
This is, I've had this conversation a number of times in the last year and a half since Get Back came out.
Oh, okay.
And the documentary about the making of Let It Be, which cannot recommend highly enough. It's life-changing.
Okay.
Is how good it is. But the thing one of the things I've talked about most is how sad it is that the Beatles were first to go through this arc of a band, because what they could have realized is we don't need to break up.
Yeah.
We just need to go make some solo albums and come back and make a Beatles record when we feel like it. Yeah. And if they had realized that they could do that before it got acrimonious, then the course of music history could be changed forever, because they could have still gone and done. You could still get All Things Must Pass and Imagine and Band on the Run and Ringo's album from '75, which is, it's basically a Beatles album anyway. They're all on it. But you could have had them come back together and make other stuff too. It didn't have to be a breakup.
Yeah.
You can just evolve as people and still work together when you feel like it. And they just didn't know that was an option.
Yeah. And
so these guys, it's a few years later, I don't think they break up. I don't know that they became, I guess they got their Rolling Stone cover. They did, because we see it, right? Or no, we see it before the rug gets pulled out.
Well, no, they still do.
Do they? Even after, when they call back?
Yeah, they still get a Rolling Stone cover because Russell, when he goes to see William, he's like, "Look, I called them back and I told them that what you wrote was true."
Right. I knew that, but I didn't know if it resulted in them actually getting the cover.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is funny because it's still Russell in the front and everyone else behind, but at least you can sort of see them. So
they're in focus. Yeah.
You know, they're in focus. I'm one of the out of focus guys.
Yeah. What is he? Your good looks are starting to become a problem or something like that.
Becoming a problem.
I love that. It's such a funny line.
Jason Lee.
Apparently, Brad Pitt was initially cast in that role, not the Jason Lee role, the Russell role. And that line,
okay.
Yeah, that line was like more about Brad Pitt. And then when they left it in there for credit because he's good looking enough. But yeah, it was initially a Brad Pitt dig, which is pretty funny.
That's really funny, especially when you think about how Billy Crudup now works with Jennifer Aniston.
Oh, is he on that morning program?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't watch that show.
Either, but I know these things.
No, there you go. I know some things. That one I let slide.
I know you shit.
Yeah, don't we all? One of the other things that I thought of at the end of this movie, because I didn't remember how it ended, was, he calls Penny and he asks for her address so he can come visit her. And she gets her address book out, which I clocked, but I was like, why is she doing that? Doesn't she know her own address?
Yeah.
And he shows up and he gets out of the cab, and I was like bummed out because I'm like, I don't give a shit if he goes and talks to Penny. Who cares? Like, that's not, their relationship doesn't matter. It's not the heart of this movie. And then when Frances McDormand answers the door, I'm like, good, they understood the assignment. Like, they got what this movie is really about. It's about the relationship between the three of them and their relationship with the music. But the love story at the heart of it is these two guys and music. And that's the resolution that I wanted. Like, I wanted that to be resolved at the end. Not Penny's in Morocco, that's fine. Have a good time.
Because we don't need it. It's not going to end up in them together. And even, I have mixed feelings on, which means I like the line, let's say all the things we never said.
Right.
That's what we all hope to do in the closure talk.
Mm-hmm.
It's impossible.
Right.
You can't say all the things you never said because some things are very impossible. Some things are very difficult to say, and then also when you're in the moment, you forget things.
Sure. Yeah. Oh, I remember you moved my shoes that one time, and it fucking bugged me.
Yeah.
Like, I meant to say that 20 years ago, and I forgot this time. God, but you moved my shoes too much. Yeah. Do you want to have some adventures in intimacy?
I do.
All right, let's have them.
Very excited about this one, just because.
About the orgy. Please say it's about the orgy.
It's not. Sorry.
Man.
Go in a different route with this one because, I love the intimacy in this movie.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't actually focus on the obvious stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It focuses a lot on the gaze, which I know I've talked about a lot on here, but it's going to happen again. Because, first example, Russell and Penny meet, quotes, because we find out later they've met before. And also you kind of see it in this moment, but there's a really cool thing that happens where, they're acting cool for a minute, and then she clearly gets emotional and all like you do when you see someone you deeply cared about and you're trying to play it cool, but you can't, and you let the emotions overwhelm you. And he does this very sweet brushing hair off her face thing.
That she does to William too. I didn't
I didn't even think about that in the moment, like, because that is something that can get so easily overdone, but they all did it very uniquely
Mhm.
and for different reasons.
Yeah.
Like motivations, anytime I'm asking actors, like, why are you doing a certain physical thing? I'll go like, okay, well, why are you doing this?
And they said, I'm jealous. That's why I crossed the room. I'm jealous. Hashtag Andrea Zuckerman.
Yes. And another moment where there's a long look at another character, incidentally, is I think the orgy you're talking about. So
Oh yeah, where she like, and then she leaves.
yeah, so
Yeah.
when they're like, let's deflower the kid.
Right.
So many things I could break down in that moment, but I want to focus on like the what I think is the sweetness of it.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you have stuff happening around William. You know, he's been disrobed. These girls are frolicking around him, and you know, you have to choreograph that. Stuff has to be happening,
right,
for him to be in the headspace that he's in. But I realized last night, as he and Penny are looking at each other, they're looking at each other as if they're the ones about to do it.
Yeah.
And it's just, I'm speechless at it. I was like,
yeah.
God damn it. This is like, this is why I like rewatching stuff. Because you see this stuff more each time. You understand directing a little bit better and why all this shit matters. So yeah, I love how it gets closer and closer on their eyes, and how eventually she just kind of breaks it, like, no, this isn't going to be for you and me.
Right. No, this is for you. Have a good time. I'm peace out.
Yeah, you have a good time. Again, their relationship is interesting because I realized she sits with him more often than she sits with Russell.
Sure. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I think, I mean, her relationship with William is wonderful. You know, like, it's very sweet. She's like he doesn't really love her. You know, he's not in love with her. He loves her, but he's not in love with her. He's a little infatuated with her, but mostly he's just connected with her. You know, like, they have a connection over their shared love for this experience they're having. And she's done it before, so she's kind of guiding him through it a little bit. Like, they all, like, I love, speaking of like weird intimacies, I love both of the phone conversations that his mom has, first with Fairuza Balk and then with Crudup later, where they're both like, he's a great kid, we're taking care of him, don't worry.
Yeah.
You know, like, they're all doing this with him all of the time. They're all embracing him and taking care of him. They don't treat him like a kid. They treat him like one of theirs that needs a little bit of support.
And yet they also, I mean, listen, if you have an innocent looking face, people want to mess with that a little.
Sure.
Like, you know, not necessarily out of a harmful way or in a harmful way. Like, it's to be funny.
Right.
And, you know, but I think also it comes from a place of like, you reminded me of something I can never get back, and I'm jealous. So let's bring you a little closer, a little more into our world. Like, you know, we want to bring you into it while also like protecting you. It's a very complicated relationship that they all have with him.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Like, it's mostly from a place of protection.
Yeah. And this was like, I watched this with Liam last night, and he was like,
oh, good.
He was like, he's trying too hard at the beginning. Like, that's what Liam said. And I was like, he is, but what he's really doing is connecting with people. Because like, he gets in to the backstage by making a connection first with Penny, who's like, I'll get you in, don't worry about it. And then with Stillwater, like all of them, by like showing that he's a fan and that he knows their music and likes their music and all of this stuff. But at the end of the show, he says goodbye to everybody by name. Like, this is a kid who spent the entire day talking to everybody and learning who they are, and not because he was writing a story, but because he wanted to be a part of this. And everyone he made a connection with. Everyone. So the Band-Aids are protecting him. The band is protecting him. Russell is protecting him. They're all there supporting him and taking care of him because they get who he is and what he's doing. Mm-hmm. And they all love him in some way. You know? Yeah. Even Jeff, who's like, fuck the narc, you know?
Yeah. Shut up, Jeffrey! Loved that moment. Mostly because I was like, hey, it's a Leslie character telling Jeff to shut up.
I know. Mildly triggering, leave me alone.
Sorry.
No, it's fine.
I have a few more things.
Yeah.
Talking with it. Okay, cool. So another moment where it focuses on the gaze. So I was thinking a lot about when he's holding her as she's attempted to hurt herself. You know, she's taken a lot of Quaaludes,
right,
and he's waiting for help to arrive to the room. And, you know, there's a lot of things here that happen. So he kisses her.
Yep.
Which, you know, is as you think it would be. Like, it's not a perfect kiss. It doesn't, like, I thought at one point that maybe she says wow, but no, she just does this, like,
yeah,
and falls.
Like, yep.
You know, and you can tell it didn't go how he imagined it would. And then we get this transition into My Cherie Amour playing, and he's watching the woman of his current dreams be saved.
Have her stomach pumped. Yeah.
Have her stomach pumped. And the way they're shooting it is almost in a seductive manner. And I realized last night, he's protecting himself from what is going to be a very traumatizing memory of, you know, of my best friend in this moment, someone that I feel romantic feelings for, tried to hurt herself. You know, a lot of first experiences happening here, a lot of experiences that you don't want anyone, especially a kid, to have to go through. And the way he's watching it, like, you see the love in his eyes, and yet there's also, like, pain behind it as his brain is trying to fight with, like, no, I will protect you from this horrible moment. Like, they're saving her. It's okay. Look, she's still sexy. But it's not done in, like, I don't think they're trying to romanticize it in any way. Like, I think they're showing how a kid is trying to survive this moment.
Yeah. Yeah, completely.
Yeah.
All right, what else?
So, first thing I thought of, because I wasn't really sure of what I was going to, when I started the movie, like, I know it very well, but I thought, what am I going to talk about? And I realized there's a big thing in the very beginning about, we are not groupies, we are Band-Aids.
Right.
And it's like, great. So, when I come into the room, in this imaginary situation, I'd be like, great, show me what the difference is between a groupie and a Band-Aid. Like, you see some of the differences they make with costumes. You see, like, you hear about what the differences are in how they're talked about. Well, yes, in how they're talked about, how they talk about each other or themselves. Like, because the men later on, unfortunately, are like, oh, the groupies. And
right.
It's like, respect what they call themselves.
Right.
And you see a little difference in how they carry themselves when Russell's on the phone with Frances McDormand, and like two, I would say, groupies go by, and Penny Lane is just giving them this glare.
Right.
And she even lightly taps one of them, like, get the fuck out of here.
Right. This is family business.
Yeah. So it's, that's just one of the things I get. Dance choreographers do it. Like I've had shows where uh the choreographer wanted to do an exercise with each person in the show, and we did kind of like a runway type situation, walk like your character. Mm-hmm. And it's things like that that really help make that distinction more. And it would have been cool to see that distinction a bit more, but that's not what the movie is about.
Right.
We feature like a few band-aids, mm-hmm. and I would say one who is like hardcore band-aid. I think we have some band-aids who are like, yeah, but we'll accept groupie.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, we're just here because we're here. We enjoy this. I mean, to each his own, according to Kelly Taylor and the Color Me Bad groupie.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then what?
So, so yeah, those are my thoughts on the intimacy in this movie.
Excellent. All right, I think it's time to hop on a bus that is going to take us to Needle Drop Forest, because I think there's only one thing to talk about here, and it's it's the fucking heart of the movie. The Tiny Dancer scene on the bus.
Yeah.
I'm tearing up thinking about it. Like, I watched it last night and cried a little, because that scene is the heart of the whole movie. That's the climax of the film. And they just have to come back to that feeling later. But that is because they had just had a fight as a band, right? Everyone was sort of being pulled a little bit. And then Tiny Dancer comes on, and one person starts to sing it. And then another person. And then the whole band, the whole entourage is singing Tiny Dancer with love and with joy and with connection. And that scene is the power of music. It's what it's about. And it's a little on the nose, but it doesn't fucking matter because it's so great, where at the end she just goes, bam, you are home. Like, yes, they're all searching for home in this movie. He left home looking for this thing. She's looking for her, like, where she belongs, and she's looking for that Morocco. And, Crudup is looking for the real in what they're doing, because it feels artificial to him, that's why he goes to the Golden God House in Topeka, because he wants to be around real people and connect to, and he was feeling pulled away from what he thought real was. And but this moment on the bus singing Tiny Dancer is what's real. This is where they all belong. Even if they don't belong there physically in 3 months, they still belong in this moment where we're all singing this song. And I was thinking about it in comparison to like another singing in the car to a song moment in a movie, and how different it is from Wayne's World.
I knew you were going there.
I mean, how can you not? Because that's the most iconic singing a song while you're in a car moment on film, I think, is that Bohemian Rhapsody scene in Wayne's World. And it's because in that instance, it's this thing we've all done, where we're singing along at the top of our lungs to this song we love, and playing the drums on the back of the seat. And then it's funny because there's the guy in the back who wants to puke, and like this, let me go. All like that stuff is so iconic and funny, but it doesn't have emotion to it other than yucks. This thing is all feeling.
Yeah.
And it's fucking wonderful. Like, it's just great.
So
and I go in and out on Elton John, whether I'm like, sometimes I really like Elton John, and sometimes I'm like, I've heard enough Elton John for a while. Because, you've heard all those songs a bajillion and a half times. I do too, but I don't always want to listen to them. You know, I'm like, I'm good. I'm good right now. I don't need any more Elton. But goddamn, is that scene perfect?
I actually have like multiple moments that I want to talk about music wise because the music just hits the nail on the head for so many scenes. That's obviously one of them. It's the heart of the movie, like you said. I found this one really interesting because I had never looked up before. Even though they play the song, sometimes I still need to look it up because it's not featured enough in the moment. And so I wanted to look up the song that Anita plays. Like, this song explains why I'm leaving home. And I thought, I've never really like paid attention.
Oh, that is one of my favorite Simon and Garfunkel songs.
It's beautiful, and it's a lot of foreshadowing for what you just said. Like, one, I mean, they're all looking for something, whether it's Morocco, whether it's America, whether it's, finding an outlet for my love of music. Like, they're all looking for something, and they all, of course, do a big road trip together. Or in Anita's case, she flies. So I loved that. I think it's worth talking about Fever Dog just a little bit because I was reading a lot about it, and once again, I read over the lyrics and I went, all right. And then I read into like, I didn't know Nancy Wilson from Heart. And I thought that was, again, just the little ties. And yes, she was married to Cameron Crowe. I don't care.
And Peter Frampton.
Oh my God.
Like he wrote the music too. Yeah.
And just the way she said in an article where they were asking, like, how do you write a song that's not meant to be a hit in a movie? And, she mentioned that, well, it's kind of like writing a play within a play, like taking all these influences and then like making sure it doesn't get too poetic, which it definitely doesn't. Like, you listen to it and it's a fine song. But yeah, they wrote pretty perfectly. Like it is going to be the song that lifts them to the next level. But it's, it's not amazing.
Right.
It's, so many groups have that song where it's like, well, this is what lifted you up, but you've had better shit since.
Yeah, definitely.
The moment, I don't know if it's necessarily because of the music, but you mentioned like tearing up over Tiny Dancer.
Yeah.
The moment that made me cry last night was when he's chasing after watching her play.
Oh yeah.
Not chasing after, but like running along with it. And she's having this realization. I can't quite say what, but then she's looking out and waving goodbye and like, yeah.
Yeah, it's really sweet.
That part gets me.
I like that too.
Feelings.
Yep. Yeah, this is a really good movie.
It's a really good movie.
Yeah. Sorry, my fucking headphones.
People can tell me they don't like it. I'm just not going to ask why.
My guess is that they are too cynical if this doesn't land. Or there's also a little bit of like, I don't need anyone to tell me how great classic rock is anymore. So I could totally see someone like bristling at that, like, I get it. Let's lionize the boomers some more. I
heard on back when Musical Splaining podcast was a thing, shout outs to them. They did an episode on Singing in the Rain and didn't like it, which hurt me. And they mentioned how it's part of why they didn't like it was because it was like a love letter to Hollywood. Sure. Which is a reason, one of many, why some people don't like La La Land. And this movie is very much a love letter to the 70s and rock and roll.
Yeah, it is. And if you have no interest in seeing a love letter to that, then it can feel self-indulgent. And, then you can be like, well, I don't like this.
Which is why when I was talking with my sister about it last night, because she hasn't seen it, and I went, I don't know that you would ever care to.
Right.
You may like this, you may not. I'm not going to encourage you either way. I want you to find it on your
Yeah,
own.
yeah. Maybe you'll love it. It's a really good
Yeah,
movie. You know. Um.
it's really good.
All right. What else? Time. Um. Here's what else. I'm pretty sure I met Kate Hudson.
What?
Yeah. Um. So this was after this, but not a lot. It would have been 2001,
Okay.
give or take. And I'd seen this movie at this point, but I was working at the Drake Hotel in Chicago, downtown.
Okay.
And I did audio visual. So like most of the time what we did was meeting room stuff or ballroom stuff, like, put the projectors and the pipe and drape and the microphones. And sometimes there was recording and blah, blah, blah. But one of the things we also did sometimes was like, and this is so fucking dates it, but people in their room would request a TV VCR because the TVs didn't have VCRs and someone wanted to watch it. Like the NHL came to use the Drake, like all the NHL teams, and we always had to put a TV VCR in the coach's room because they were always watching film. Like it was almost constant. And so I was waiting on one of the floors for someone to come and let me into one of the rooms so that I could get the thing. And I'm just sort of standing there against the wall, just sort of waiting, and wearing a suit, like, because you had to wear a suit to do this stupid job. And I'm just standing there, and a woman comes out of her room and walks past me, and she has sunglasses on, which is why I'm pretty sure I met Kate Hudson, because of the sunglasses. I couldn't 100% tell.
Yeah.
But she walked past me and she said hello, and I said hello back, and she just walked on about her business. But I was like, I'm 99% sure that was Kate Hudson. Like, it looked exactly like her. And like, this is a hotel that someone that wealthy and famous would stay in. Like, that kind of shit happened. So I'm 99% sure I met Kate Hudson.
Did they mention the Drake, or was it a different hotel? Because she mentions a Chicago hotel.
No, I didn't. This band would not have stayed at the Drake.
Okay.
Like in the 70s, I think the Drake was too nice for a band like this, where they're going in and fucking shit up, especially at their level. Like, they weren't the Rolling Stones. Stones probably could have stayed at the Drake. But my impression of Kate Hudson beyond the time when I met her and we shared a moment has largely been whatever.
Yeah.
Like, she got a lot of pub from this movie. Like, it was like, oh my God, breakout star, Goldie Hawn's daughter, et cetera, et cetera. And I was like, she's fine. Watched this yesterday. I get it.
Oh, yeah.
Like, in this movie, she is magnetic. Like, she draws all of the eyeballs, and all of it bounces right off of her. And you're like, wow, is she amazing? And I don't know that she's done anything near this good since this movie, but holy fuck, is she good in this movie?
So natural, so at ease with the timing, with her movements.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not to say that you can't find that in someone who didn't grow up in the business, but there's a reason why. It's understandable and it's annoying as hell to me, but there's a reason why a lot of people who grew up in this business get work in it.
Sure.
They have an ease with it that can be learned, but it's really annoying and it takes time to have.
It's way easier if you don't have to learn it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I won't go into all of that right now. I mean, it hurts me, and yet I also see it.
Yeah. She was fucking great in this.
At least she's great in it. Like, again, as long as you're good, I don't care.
Yeah.
I say that, I'm lying. As long as you're good, I cared less.
Right. I get it. And you were 11 when she shot this movie. You couldn't have had this role.
No, I could not have.
Yeah. So
that is
you're
totally
good.
fair.
Yeah. So I feel like it goes without saying that this is her defining role.
Absolutely. Like, and I meant to look up her IMDb, but like I've seen some of her other stuff, and it's not that she's fine. It's just none of it, and maybe it's because none of it ever could live up to such a role. But I don't
Maybe.
think people have given her any other role like that. You know, she
Mhm.
dove into the rom-com world for a while.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I really don't know what else.
I mean, is it possible that, like the dude, she is just the man for her particular time and place?
Maybe.
I mean, this might just be the perfect thing for her, because it wasn't supposed to be her initially. It was Sarah Polley. But anyway, it wasn't supposed to be Kate Hudson to begin with, and the fact that it is perfect. You know,
Yeah.
Is this Billy Crudup's defining role?
For me, yes.
It might be for me too, because I can't think of him in anything else.
Well, and he always, without that mustache, I
Right.
don't recognize him.
That's true. Yeah.
Also, shout outs to the hair in this movie. Like, man, 70s hair.
I know. It's a choice.
Full.
I don't know. The 70s guy rock star hair is a little matty. You know?
Maybe, but theirs looks clean, so
Sure.
I'm okay with it. You know,
I get that.
or if
I
you
get that.
Sean Cassidy with the hot roller look, like, sure, I can take that too.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's hot roller everything.
Yeah. Please do.
I mean, I guess William Fugit, this is his defining role, but he's done other stuff, but I don't know any of it.
So I have seen 2 other things that he's
Okay.
in, and I was pleased because it's one of those things. I heard a comedian once make a joke about the irony of the kid in Almost Famous, and you all can't even say his name, and I was so pissed in that moment because, yeah, I couldn't. So now I make it a point, like, I will know Patrick Fugit's name.
I got it wrong at the beginning of this episode. So
he was in Gone Girl as a
Okay.
cop.
Yeah, I saw that in his IMDb.
And then he's also in Rookie Blue.
Hmm.
Again as a cop. I don't know.
Narc.
Right?
What's wrong with that? I don't think this is anyone else's defining role. Like, it's definitely not for Jason Lee or Frances McDormand or Zoe Deschanel or Fairuza Balk, who is, for her, it's either Vicky Valancourt. What is Dorothy? Is that the craft?
Dorothy in Return to Oz.
Oh God, I didn't know she was in that.
Everyone needs to experience the horror of Return to Oz.
Ouch.
Horror and the confusion.
Yeah.
But no.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I just think it's an interesting arc for her because it's such an iconic role for innocence. And then, she got to play like Band-Aid here. And then I haven't seen The Craft, but I should.
Oh yeah, she's good in that. But I mean, she's very dark. And then, she's Vicky Valancourt in The Waterboy.
Oh, okay.
And Vicky Valancourt showed me her boobies, and I like them too.
Wow.
Yeah, The Waterboy's very funny. It's super dumb. It's super dumb.
You don't say.
It's dumb in a way that works really, really well.
Awesome.
Yeah. So for me, this is not it for her. Anna Paquin, Sookie Stackhouse. I mean, I think that's what it's got to be for her, but it's not this as a off to the side person.
I don't even know what mine would be for her because I always somehow get her confused with Claire Danes because they were both coming up at the same time. And
roughly the same age, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
And Philip Seymour Hoffman, definitely not.
No, but it's definitely up there for me just because, Iggy Pop!
It's great. I mean, he's really good at Lester Bangs, and Lester Bangs was a lunatic.
What are you listening to right now? Stillwater. Kids on Films.
Uh-huh. Yep. Yeah, I read the biography of Lester Bangs, and it is drug-fueled, I believe is the best description of everything in it.
Which is funny because not a real connection, but go with me here, because I love when Ben Fong Torres is calling out William later, and he's like, "Listen, man, get it together. We're all professionals here. We already have a Hunter S. Thompson." And I'm like, I
Mhm.
get that.
That's an interesting thing about this movie too, though, is that there are lots of real people represented, and then a big old fake band that's a composite of other folks.
Yep.
You know, like Lester Bangs is a real dude who really worked for Rolling Stone.
Yes.
Ben Fong Torres, real dude. Jan Wenner, real dude. Like lots of real people in this, and then a whole lot of just blurry fake shit.
Yep.
And it's interesting to like do those things together, you know?
Yeah, I like it.
Like it grounds it in a reality where like, yes, this is Rolling Stone. Oh, we talk about Cream magazine, which Lester Bangs, like he wrote for Rolling Stone, but then he was like, fuck that corporate bullshit kind of.
Yeah.
And then he did a lot of stuff for Cream and a lot of other kind of stuff too. But I think William needed that that grizzled voice in his ear, you know, from someone who is like maybe the best music critic in the history of rock and roll.
Wow.
Like his writing is fantastic. It's really, and it's full of vitriol and like stuff that he hates, he fucking hates. But like the way he describes his hate is very entertaining and really well written. So I recommend going back and reading Lester Bangs stuff because he's rightly regarded as good as you. Do you have any other what else's?
I thought it was interesting, and I looked it up when he brings up like, "Oh, shame you're coming around at the death of rock and roll. It's over, man." I'm like, it's the 70s.
Yeah, but that's what he felt for sure.
Well, yeah, and that makes sense because, you know, music from the 70s and 80s are obviously looked at very differently. Music from the 80s is looked at as a joke. You know? At least the way I hear people talk about it, we love it, and yet we feel like we have to make fun of it in order to love it. Like, yeah. I don't hear 70s music talked about in the same way.
Oh, you should hear the way that Laura laughs at me when I turn on Yacht Rock or The Bridge.
Interesting.
70s singer-songwriter stuff gets mocked mercilessly.
But I love 70s music more than I like 80s music.
I like a lot of stuff.
I mean, yeah, that too. Did you like Lester Bangs' comment when he goes, "Oh, the Doors? Ah, fucking Jim Morrison. Yeah, he's a drunken buffoon. Now these guys have the courage to be drunken buffoons." About it.
Yeah.
I thought that was great considering the time.
Yeah, for sure.
He's saying what I was afraid to say.
You just needed to be on as many drugs as Lester Bangs to say it. That's all.
I mean, probably. I'm sure staying up late on coke or on speed and a little cough syrup and just writing, I'm sure I would eventually find comfort in my writing ability. But
or pass out.
One or the other. But I don't really. Yeah. I'm a little too nervous to get into those to foray into those fields of people and be like, so how does one do this? So you got any? Like it's gonna be a joke. I'm a square and I'm okay with it.
That's okay. Yeah, I mean we're all in cool. That's the whole point.
Industry of cool.
Yeah. All right, what is this the EST of for you?
Oh man, I mean.
Your favoritist?
It's my favoritist. I also think it's the most 70s of movies. Like it's whenever obviously we have movies from that time that are but when you know something is of an era and you're doing it from the future, I feel like you're able to create the vibe more effectively, or at least from your experience. So yeah, I'm going to say this is the most 70s of movies.
And that's because you haven't seen Dazed and Confused, but this is definitely in the conversation for sure.
Yes.
I think this is the sweetest movie about music, about rock and roll. You know, like there's an innocence to it. There's a love, a total lack of cynicism, which I really like. Because it could turn into, in the middle, when Jimmy Fallon shows up with his money and jet plane, it could turn into a movie about how this band disintegrates and becomes assholes. But it's not. It becomes, it shows how that the money part of it fucked them up a little bit and was something they had to overcome. But and they didn't die in the plane crash like some bands do. They survived the plane crash and went, fuck that plane, and went full Aaron Spelling. And it's like, I'm never riding a plane again. So,
they had a few, I was thinking of the loving and joking moniker they've given to the Eras tour at times, the Errors tour. They had a few problems and they said, no, we're not continuing this.
Yeah. Yep. They're like, yeah, we're out on that. We get back on the bus. The bus is where it's at. The bus is where we fucking sing Tiny Dancer.
Doors is the heart and soul of this tour.
And I mean, obviously, like that was 100% true, and kind of the heart and soul of the movie, the interactions on the bus and, I don't know, just that scene is the whole thing for me. Mm-hmm. Like the movie is good. That scene is transcendent. Yeah. It just fucking lands so hard. But I think we did it. I think that we've once again proven my theory that everything comes back to Aaron Spelling. Even your favorite movie. And you didn't even know it.
No, I didn't know it. No idea. Yeah.
Thanks to the real Topeka Kid for getting us there.
We're just real people from Topeka.
Real people. I am a golden god.
Yeah. I think you should rethink your last words. My favorite part of that scene is the extra getting his life to everything Russell is saying.
Yeah.
I love you. If you ever somehow wind up hearing this podcast, call me. Oh my God.
Let's be best friends. Yeah. I like that at the end, he's like, maybe you should come down. He goes, all right. Turns around and walks off. Right. Okay, I'll jump.
Also, just
easily, very impressionable.
Yeah. When on acid, I guess.
Yeah.
Also, my other favorite line, because I'm running with it now. I don't have to act anywhere else. I am dark and mysterious and pissed off. Anyway, that's me.
There you go.
While looking cute, unfortunately.
All right, Cheesemeisters. Well, join us here next week when, unless the internet conspires against us again, like it has a few times recently, we will be watching Touch of Evil, which is not a movie you've seen before, a movie I've only seen once. But, because Dylan and Brenda go to Mexico, I was like, well, we should do something around the border of Mexico. And that's what this movie is. So, yeah, we'll see what you think. And we'll see what I think, because I've only seen it the one time.
Yeah.
So, but until then, Cheesemeisters.
Cheers.
Cheers.